Hi, my name is Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. I'm the current ranking member.
Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. What a show we have in store for you this morning. It's been a while where it's just you and I. No guests this morning, though we will have a quick clip from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who released a video on his Facebook, sent it to us. In case you missed it, I thought we'd play that as we had the Assemblyman on, not just yesterday, but also on Friday when he made that special appearance. If you missed Phil Palmisano's interview yesterday, you can find it on our YouTube page or on WYDCTV.com. We've got a lot of viewer comments to get to. This morning we have a lot of breaking news stories to cover. First off, today is, for all you historians out there, the 67th, I guess you would say, anniversary of the day the music died. On this day, back in 1959, we lost Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and of course, the Big Bopper near Clear Lake, Iowa. So 67 years ago today. All right, let's go to some viewer comments. Did you hear about the upcoming NASA launch to orbit the moon? They're shooting for a March launch now. Yes, there's, I guess, some technical issues. Their target is now in March for its new moon rocket. I guess there was fuel leaks during a make-or-break test a day earlier, just a few days ago. The space agency said in a statement that the launch delay will allow teams to review data and conduct a second wet dress rehearsal, is what it's called, before the flight test. The leaks, reminiscent of the rocket's delayed debut 3 years ago, sprang just a couple hours into the day-long fueling operation at Kennedy Space Center and called into question how soon astronauts could take off. So now the launch date is set for March. Comment from different viewers, and these coming in after yesterday's broadcast. It's a shame that there's no fiscal responsibility incentive to politicians. All state budgets are built around a use it or lose it system. It's like Democrats are pariah. They have an unlimited supply of funds and don't have to answer to anyone. Yes, so use it or lose it has cost taxpayers a lot of money through the years, that's for sure. Comment from a different viewer. I recently saw Judge Saul speaking about his mission to help the Nigerian Christians who are facing unconscionable atrocities and its land takeover. And I can't help but see the parallel if we don't wake up, because it's slowly creeping in, and not that slowly in my mind. Thank you very much. All right, a couple quick things to get to kick off this morning's broadcast. On a sad note, Chuck Negron, one of the co-founders of the rock band Three Dog Night, has passed away at the age of 83. This is breaking last night. Many of you may recall Chuck Negron playing at Dunn Field many years ago with Bachman-Turner Overdrive on the bill as well. Well, the singer passed away at his Studio City, California home, and he was surrounded by family, according to his representatives. Negron had been battling heart failure in the months leading up to his death and suffered with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease for around 3 decades. He co-founded Three Dog Night back in 1967. You know, so many hits. Joy to the World, Mama Told Me Not to Come, Black and White. The group secured 11 top 10 hits on the Billboard 100 charts, as well as 21 top 40 hits. We know at one point he made quite a comeback. He was living on Skid Row, saying that he spent as much as $2,000 a day on drugs back in the 80s before entering a California rehab facility in 1991. As I said, it was amazing if you happen to go. It was an amazing show back in the day, and I can't remember how many years ago now it would have been, but quite a few, when Chuck Negron played at Dunn Field in Elmira and playing those hits from Three Dog Night, again passing away at the age of 83. Okay, I know the Super Bowl is coming up. Feel free to make your predictions as the game nears, and it sounds like many of you will be putting your money where your mouth is. According to projections, New Yorkers will place over $170 million in legal, this is just legal wagers, on the Super Bowl. A new analysis recently released by Legal Sports Report in partnership with the Sports Betting Alliance forecasts that $170 million $727,644 will be legally wagered on Super Bowl 60 in New York State, and over $1.71 billion will be wagered nationwide. Wow. Now, I know many people have been critical, and many on this program, of some of the performers that they've 170 million just in New York, folks. That's just in New York. Now, there's been criticism of Bad Bunny being a performer, Green Day, who historically has been anti-Trump, in some cases anti-American, definitely anti-Republican. They are a part of the celebration as well. Well, we know there is a halftime party, if you will, a halftime show that's an alternative to what you can see during the game, and it's being put on by Turning Point USA. We talked about it early on. It was after Bad Bunny was announced as a halftime performer, and Turning Point USA came out and said, well, we're going to have alternative programming. Now we have learned more about Turning Point USA's halftime show. Kid Rock and country star Lee Brice will headline its All-American halftime show. The All-American halftime show will be a unique patriotic event proudly celebrating American culture, freedom, and faith, said Turning Point USA. Along with Kid Rock and Lee Brice, the show will also feature performances by Brantley Gilbert and Gabby Barrett. A spokesperson for TPUSA said, the All-American Halftime Show is an opportunity for all Americans to enjoy a halftime show with no agenda other than to celebrate the faith, family, and freedom. We set out to provide an entertainment option that will be fun, excellent, and exciting for the entire family while millions are gathered together for the big game. These performers will deliver exactly that, and we can't wait to watch the incredible show they're about to put on. We know millions around the country will be watching too. Now, there's a number of ways to see it. The exclusive halftime performance can be streamed on Turning Point USA social media channels, including YouTube, X, Rumble. In addition to social media, the program will air on partner platforms, Real America's Voice, some others here. If you want me to give you a full list, I'd be happy to tweet to you. Just one day after the unfathomable assassination of Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, country superstar Lee Brice took to the stage in Clearwater, Florida, and he said, and he performed a song that he rarely performs called When Kingdom Comes, which he dedicated to Charlie Kirk. And after the program, he said, Charlie's passing deeply affected me and the whole band, and we know we wanted to honor him. It was the best way to honor what Charlie held closest to his heart, his faith and his relationship with Jesus Christ. So again, Kid Rock, Lee Brice, Brantley Gilbert, and Gabby Barrett will be performing at the Turning Point USA, I guess you could say alternative halftime show. All right. We've got a lot of breaking stories. Oh, congratulations, by the way, to some local landmarks here in New York. They put together the 10 must-visit aviation museums in upstate New York. And this was coming from, I think it was New York upstate. And we're on a lot of them. When I say we, our surrounding area, yeah, there's a few others. But, of course, the Glenn H. Curtis Museum in Hammondsport making the list. The National Soaring Museum in Elmira also. We also have, of course, Wings of Eagles Discovery Center in Horset. So there you are. That was just something that crossed by on the Empire Report this morning. I thought I'd pass it along to you. Yesterday, a Russian cargo plane, typically used to transfer military equipment, landed at a military airfield in Havana on Sunday. That's Cuba. Echoing flight patterns seen ahead of the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. The U.S. sanctioned, Illusion 1176, operated by Russian state-linked airlines, was tracked landing at San Antonio de los Banos Airfield, a Cuban military installation roughly 30 miles south of Havana. Flight tracking records show the aircraft stopped at St. Petersburg and Sochi in Russia and other places as well. So a sanctioned Russian jet touches down in Cuba, echoing the secret flights before Maduro's ouster. Trump confirmed Sunday that the U.S. engaged in direct talks with Cuban officials. Cuba is a failing nation. It has been for a long time. But now it doesn't have Venezuela to prop it up, Trump told reporters. So we're talking to the people from Cuba, the highest people in Cuba, to see what happens. I think we're going to make a deal with Cuba. Also on the international front, we're going to be moving through a lot of things quickly this morning. As diplomatic talks between Washington and Iran gain momentum, Iran has intensified its rhetoric toward the region while continuing a violent crackdown at home. On Sunday and Monday morning, Iran issued fresh warnings that any military strike on its territory would ignite a regional conflict, even as senior Iranian officials signaled a willingness to negotiate. And a lot of what we learned with their drone attack not that long ago, what was that, probably a year ago? A lot of their bluster is just that, kind of a paper tiger idea. Reuters reported Monday that Tehran is examining the possibility of renewed nuclear talks with the U.S., with Turkey emerging as a potential venue and regional mediator, including Saudi Arabia and Qatar, playing an active role, after President Trump said he was hopeful a deal could be reached to avert military action against Iran. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to arrive in Israel on Tuesday for meetings with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to have conversations on this. The talks are expected to focus on Iran. So this is kind of typical behavior from Iran, saying that maybe they're willing to negotiate, all while, of course, showing their people that they better not protest, that there will be crackdowns, there will be violence in the streets. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also on the international front, yesterday, big news. The U.S. will cut tariffs on India to 18% after this trade deal was announced yesterday. Trump said he agreed to reduce the reciprocal tariff rate on India from 25% to 18%, following a phone call with their prime minister. The administration will also drop an additional 25% tariff that had been imposed on India over its purchases of Russian oil. What we learned a little bit about the deal is that the United States and India have reached a trade agreement and that India has committed to stop buying Russian oil. Trump revealed the developments in a Truth Social post yesterday and called Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi one of his greatest friends. We spoke about many things, including trade and ending the war with Russia and Ukraine. He agreed to stop buying Russian oil and to buy much more from the United States and potentially Venezuela. This will help end the war in Ukraine, which is taking place right now, with thousands of people dying each and every week. Out of friendship and respect for the Prime Minister Modi, and as per his request, effective immediately, we agreed to a trade deal between the United States and India, whereby the United States will charge a reduced reciprocal tariff, lowering it from 25% to 18%. They will likewise move forward to reduce their tariffs and non-tariff barriers against the U.S. to zero. The Prime Minister also committed to buy American at a much higher level, in addition to over $500 billion of U.S. energy, technology, agriculture, coal, and many other products. Our amazing relationship with India will be even stronger going forward. Prime Minister Modi and I are two people that get things done, something that cannot be said for most. Thank you for your attention to this matter. There you are. All right, also, yeah, I know I'm running late. All right, we'll go through a couple other updates. Did you see in a last-minute move, the Clintons have changed their mind? They're no longer fighting for the country by not testifying at the Epstein investigation. They are now going to testify after I'm sure it got a little bit concerning to them as it was just, moments before the contempt vote. So we could talk about that. We also have a couple of New York State updates. We're going to talk about, obviously, Minnesota, the anti-ICE protests. What else do we have? We have a lot of stuff, and we're already running late. And we have a clip from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. But most importantly, I want to read your comments. So keep them coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
In the heart of nature, collisions happen when you least expect them. Deer hits can turn a tranquil drive into a chaotic moment. When the unexpected happens, turn to Scott's Collision. At Scott's Collision, we understand the frustration of unexpected encounters with wildlife. From dense to more extensive damage, we've got you covered. When nature and your vehicle collide, trust Scott's Collision to bring it back to life.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Suburban Propane is here for your residential and industrial propane needs. Serving the surrounding area for over 95 years, we take pride in our reliable delivery service with 24/7, 365 emergency service answered by company representatives. Call today to start your Suburban Propane service.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be milder today. Enjoy it while it lasts. 30 degrees, 31 in Corning, and you can see Watkins Glen at 30. We'll see a chance for a little light snow from time to time, a few flurries. And then we drop down to 9. We have a lake cutter coming through on Thursday and into Friday. Now that's going to kick up the wind a little bit, and also an Arctic blast follows that. So we'll get some snow showers here Friday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. Oh, I forgot to mention this. This came in late yesterday in the program when our guest Assemblyman Phil Palmisano was in the studio, and I didn't have a chance because it's a little difficult sometimes live on the air to put up pictures on the screen. But I want to thank our viewer who sent in a chilly photo from beautiful Keuka Lake. We were talking about how cold it had been on the program, and yes, that does look nearly frozen over. So beautiful view on Keuka Lake, even if it does look very, very chilly. So thank you for that. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Yesterday I told you I switched the channel on the Grammys because of the bashing of Trump. Well, I learned Trump is going after the host and that had cut him down. Yes, he had made some joke about Trump being on Epstein Island or something, and Trump took to Truth Social and said, never have I been to Epstein Island nor anywhere close. And until tonight's false and defamatory statement, have never been accused of being there, not even by the fake news media. Noah, Trevor Noah is the host, was the host of the Grammys. This is what Trump had to say about him. Noah, a total loser, better get his facts straight and get them straight fast. It looks like I'll be sending my lawyers to sue his poor, pathetic, talentless dope of an MC and suing him for plenty of money. Now, I guess that wasn't the only controversy. Billie Eilish had said blank ice and saying no one is illegal on stolen land while she was accepting her reward. I never understand this. You're speaking to like-minded people in that room. I know it's virtue signaling. You get a pat on the back afterwards because you cussed. You said you believe you said something controversial, which in that room is not. I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting. Our voices really do matter, and the people matter. And blank ice. That's all I'm going to say. Sorry. Well, needless to say, this did not go over well. Senator Mike Lee wrote, any white person who does a public stolen land acknowledgement should immediately give up his or her land to Native Americans. Otherwise, they don't mean it. Also, I'm pretty sure they don't mean it, said Senator Mike Lee. People showed her beautiful, I don't remember how many $1 million mansion. Minnesota State Representative Walter Hudson said no one ever expounds on this ridiculous talking point. Quote, no one is illegal on stolen land. Okay, so the states and the union they created, along with every deed to property on this continent, is illegal. Why aren't you acting accordingly? Donate everything and leave. Wow, I really care about what people who live in multi-million-dollar mansions with gates and walls and security guards to keep out intruders, living a life completely detached from normal Americans, think about illegal aliens being deported, said commentator Greg Price. Governor Ron DeSantis said, oh, gee, this stolen land nonsense again. Maybe she should step up and forfeit her Southern California mansion since it is supposedly on stolen land, with Elon Musk responding to DeSantis' comment by saying, exactly. The Sun columnist Julie Hartley Brewer said no one is illegal on stolen land, blank ice. This is Billie Eilish's accepting the Song of the Year at the Grammys. The woman is a blithering idiot. Of course, she really means it. Then she'll happily hand over her multi-million-dollar Malibu beachfront home to illegal migrants, which she won't because it's all just silly celeb posturing. Also, though, on a more serious note, the mom of a teen girl who was allegedly killed by a drunk driving illegal migrant has blasted the speech by these A-list celebrities at the Grammys. Shannon Hamrick, who lost her daughter Skylar Provenza, who was 19, in a January 16th car wreck that also claimed North Carolina College soccer goalie Fletcher Harris. Rip celebs who she described as insulated from reality. She woke up feeling angry and sad after tuning in to the Grammys. She claimed Hollywood elites were insulated from real life, something she described as sickening. Honestly, have any of those wealthy artists that are advocating against ICE been personally affected in any way? Try fighting that anger. I'm sure most of these wealthy people with voices had drivers to wherever they were going. They weren't home grieving the loss of their daughter and our future son-in-law. All right. Okay. So thank you, Mark. You got me on a little tangent there. Trump yesterday launched Project Vault, which this was a typical Trump news cycle day where there was so much covered that this happened before noon, and it went out of, especially when it's a positive thing, it gets out of the news cycle very, very quickly. President Trump is poised to launch a $12 billion stockpile of critical minerals, an attempt to reduce U.S. reliance on China's supply and stabilize prices for American manufacturers. The president's Project Vault will be backed by $1.67 billion in private capital and a $10 billion loan from the U.S. Export-Import Bank. Project Vault is Trump's latest attempt to grapple with China's dominance over rare earths, which are key to automotive, aerospace, and energy industries, according to Bloomberg. Shares in American rare earth miners, Neocore Development, United States Antimony Corp. I should have read that before I went live with it on the air, huh? Rare Earths and Critical Metal Core soared 9.3%, 4.8%, 5.9%, 3.3%, respectively, following the news of the project. It's the first of its kind mineral stockpile, which will play to the national emergency oil stockpile as the Trump administration aims to stabilize prices and minimize supply shock. Also, one last international story before we move on, and we do have to take a break. I see some comments coming in. Gaza's Rafah border crossing has finally reopened as the first phase of President Trump's peace deal comes to a close on Monday. The opening will allow for about 20,000 sick and wounded Palestinians to begin leaving the Gaza Strip for treatment, according to the World Health Organization. Despite the uncertainties, traffic through the border has begun as the first phase of Trump's 20-point peace plan concludes, with the fragile ceasefire expected to face its biggest challenge yet as the next phase approaches. The crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt has remained largely closed since May of 2024, when it was captured by Israeli forces. The border was meant to reopen during the hostage exchange in the fall, but Israel refused to cede full control until every single captive was free, which did not happen until last week. All right, so there you go. Okay, we've covered a lot this morning. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We've got a couple of things here about New York State. We're going to talk about the Clintons, Don Lemon, Minnesota, Minneapolis. We'll talk about all of it. Read your comments. Playing a clip from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano here in just a little bit. Oh, if you went to the Rotary Club's pancake breakfast for dinner yesterday, how did it go? Great live music, great food. I was not able to attend, but I'd love to know how it went. We also have a couple of important community events coming up that we'll promote here in just a little bit. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.
When it comes to cleaning your house or business, Magic Rags Cleaning Service has you covered from ceiling to floor. With powerful steam cleaning and attention to detail, we have you covered for moving out cleans, move-in cleans, Airbnbs, or just keeping everything neat and tidy. We go above and beyond in our residential and commercial cleaning, and our professional crew makes sure that your house or business is always ready for company. Call our number or schedule an appointment on Yelp or Facebook today.
Month after year, even decades you've paid into the insurance system. You've done your part. But when you're seriously injured in a car accident or another tragedy, that system turns its back. Insurance companies care more about pumping up profits and stock prices than paying for your medical bills, your lost wages, or your recovery. At WDC Injury Law, we fight to make them pay what's fair. If you've been hurt in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies win.
A concert of diva showstoppers featuring a Glinda and Elphaba from the Broadway company of Wicked.
Quite as popular.
Good Witch Bad Witch has been thrilling audiences coast to coast with their stunning vocals and playful banter. Good Witch Bad Witch this Thursday at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemenscenter.org.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be milder today. Enjoy it while it lasts. 30 degrees, 31 in Corning, and you can see Watkins Glen at 30. We'll see a chance for a little light snow from time to time, a few flurries. And then we drop down to 9. We have a lake cutter coming through on Thursday and into Friday. Now that's going to kick up the wind a little bit, and also an Arctic blast follows that. So we'll get some snow showers here Friday with
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Oh, comment from a viewer. Morning, Frank. Well, good morning. It seems the mainstream media is not reporting all the high-profile arrests coming out of Minnesota. They can't hide the facts forever. Best thing we can do is stop watching their lies and propaganda. Thank you very much. We're going to be talking about that coming out of Minnesota here in just a little bit. We've got an update on Don Lemon. Don Lemon's getting exactly what he wanted, by the way. So he gets arrested, and what did he do? He went on Jimmy Kimmel's show to detail the horrifying tale of his arrest. So he's getting the attention he hasn't had in a long time since he was a host on CNN. Even then, he didn't get that much attention. Normally, he got it for the wrong things. But, of course, now he's in the news. So he's more than willing to go to Jimmy Kimmel and other shows to get the attention back on him. But before we get into that, President Trump said late yesterday his administration is pursuing $1 billion from Harvard to settle federal probes into the university over school policies. With the two sides yet to reach a final deal despite months of talk, the Trump administration has been threatening to withhold federal funds from Harvard and several other universities over issues including the anti-Israel protests, the pro-Hamas protests, DEI programs as well. Trump has said Harvard and other universities allowed displays of anti-Semitism during pro-Palestinian protests. You know, I'm not a big fan of it being called pro-Palestinian. We know that is that because that's coming from Reuters. It's a way to misrepresent what the protest was really all about. Trump said on Truth Social, "We are now seeking $1 billion in damages and want nothing further to do into the future with Harvard University." Trump's post came in response to a New York Times report citing sources saying the Trump administration has dropped its demand for cash from Harvard and ongoing talks to strike a deal. Trump clearly, with that Truth Social post, dismissed the report. Trump officials in Harvard have engaged in months of talks. Trump said in September a deal was close and would involve a $500 million payment by Harvard. Harvard has not responded to a request for comment. The government has settled its probes with some universities. Harvard sued the Trump administration last year, and a judge later ruled the government had unlawfully terminated some grants for the university. Anyway, that's where we're at. Okay, so yes, as mentioned, the Clintons agreed to an in-person deposition in the 11th hour to avoid the contempt vote in the Epstein investigation. They were hoping to avoid that contempt vote. It's interesting, though. Don't you remember their argument when they originally said they were not going to testify? Their argument was they were fighting for the country. I guess they're no longer fighting for our country. They no longer are standing on those moral platitudes because they did not want to be found in contempt. It was not immediately clear whether House Oversight Chairman James Comer would accept the 11th hour offer, scuttling a full House vote to hold the former president and former Secretary of State in contempt for the repeated refusals to testify for months. The latest proposal, which has not been independently reviewed, and this is coming from CNN, shows the lengths to which the Clintons are willing to go to avoid the vote, which could ultimately carry legal consequences. Clinton's spokesperson, Angel Urena, said they negotiated in good faith. You did not. They told you under oath what they know, but you don't care. But the former president and former Secretary of State will be there. They look forward to setting a precedent that applies to everyone. Comer said in a statement yesterday evening, the Clintons' counsel has said they agree to terms, but those terms lack clarity, yet again, and they have provided no dates for their deposition. The only reason they have said they agree to terms is because the House has moved forward with contempt. I will clarify the terms they are agreeing to and then discuss the next steps with my committee members. The top Democrats on the Oversight Committee, however, said he didn't see a scenario where the panel's chairman didn't accept the offer. The Clintons, he told CNN, had accepted every single term that had been laid out by Comer. We've said from day one that we wanted Bill Clinton to testify in front of the Oversight Committee. We've been repeating that, and we've been working, obviously, with their teams. And so I'm glad they're going to testify, said Representative Robert Garcia. Just hours earlier, the Republican chairman, unsatisfied by conditions the Clintons' legal team sought to place on their cooperation, appeared set to move forward with the contempt proceedings. Comer wrote at the time, it's been nearly 6 months since your clients first received the committee subpoenas, more than 3 months since the original date of their depositions, and nearly 3 weeks since they failed to appear for their depositions with the committee's lawful subpoenas. Your client's desire for special treatment is both frustrating and an affront to the American people's desire for transparency. So we don't have to go into the back and forth. Now, this isn't the Clintons' first time trying to avoid proceedings. The New York Times says that they capitulated. I'm not sure. Well, I mean, it's an appropriate word. Capitulating to the demands of its Republican chairman. For months, the Clintons have been adamant that they would not comply with subpoenas from James Comer. They described it as invalid and legally unenforceable. They accused Mr. Comer of being part of a plot to target them as President Trump's political adversaries and promised to fight him on the issue for as long as it took. Apparently, it took until February 2nd. But after some Democrats on the panel joined Republicans in a vote to recommend charging them with criminal contempt, an extraordinary first step in referring them to the Justice Department for prosecution, the Clintons ultimately waved the white flag and agreed to fully comply. Yeah, they thought it was the old days where they would have full allegiance from the Democrats. It turns out that some Democrats didn't want to look completely like hypocrites in the ongoing saga of Epstein, so they did head towards the contempt vote. Clinton said they would appear for deposition on mutually agreeable dates and asked that the House not move forward with a contempt vote. For Mr. Clinton to testify in the Epstein investigation would be nearly unprecedented. No former president has appeared before Congress since 1983, when Gerald Ford did so to discuss the celebration of the 1987 bicentennial of the enactment of the Constitution. When Trump was subpoenaed in 2022 by the Select Committee investigation on January 6th, after he left office, he sued the panel to try to block it. The panel ultimately withdrew the subpoena. The Clintons' move capped a months-long battle between them and Comer. We don't need to go through all this. Your thoughts on that? Will anything come of it? Will Comer accept their agreed-upon rules? Philip Raines, a longtime advisor to the Clintons, said that the House Democrats who sided with Republicans in January and voted in favor of recommending the House hold the Clintons in contempt were to blame for the ultimate outcome. Republicans are gonna Republican. It's the Democrats who are disappointing. Navel-gazing like this is a legitimate exercise in law and democracy. He derided Democrats who he said could raise money off their votes by telling donors that they stand with MAGA and chanting "lock them up." 9 Democrats on the Oversight Committee joined Republicans last month in support of holding Mr. Clinton in contempt, while 3 Democrats backed holding Mrs. Clinton in contempt. Many Democrats have been reluctant to be seen as defending anyone associated with Epstein, especially party figures who carry as much baggage as the Clintons. All right, we got some other updates, but we'll run just a little bit late. I see some comments, some waves coming in. Stay with us. We've got Assemblyman Phil Palmisano with a little clip we'll probably do in the next segment, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Give kids time. just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
At the Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, we provide students with a variety of community-based and academic opportunities and a fresh start. Located on the Corning Community College campus, students earn high school credits and gain real-world experiences through community service, internships, art partnerships, and work opportunities, experiences they value for a lifetime. Our students find a place to reconnect and succeed. The Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, turning fresh starts into future success.
I'm Grace. I'm Ida, and I lived in California. To me, was just a puppy when I moved in. He's a emotional support animal. I had Missy, who is 15 years old and blind. Likes the people. He likes to greet all the people. All the employees are happy to see him. I feel that my pets are very welcome here. I feel very welcome here. I think it's great.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be milder today. Enjoy it while it lasts. 30 degrees, 31 in Corning, and you can see Watkins Glen at 30. We'll see a chance for a little light snow from time to time, a few flurries. And then we drop down to 9. We have a lake cutter coming through on Thursday and into Friday. Now that's going to kick up the wind a little bit, and also an Arctic blast follows that. So we'll get some snow showers here Friday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. All right, we have a lot of comments coming in. I didn't get a chance to run through all of them, but we'll give it a shot here. Good morning. Regarding the subpoenas, I would go ahead and vote. If passed, I would set a date for them to appear. Otherwise, the contempt would stand and they would be charged. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. The deep state Democrats set a precedent when they put Steve Bannon in jail for contempt of Congress. So the Clintons are a little nervous, as they should be. And yes, they're blaming, well, Democrats are blaming Democrats, and that's fine, but that's a tough one. How does as a rule, we see the hypocrisy in Washington all the time. But that takes away so many of their talking points if they're seen siding with the Clintons and not having them testify about Epstein. Comment from Steve, who writes in, good morning. Well, good morning, Steve. So we all understand, how much do you think the people were worth in the room at the Grammys? They all cheered, saying that people were making money off of stolen land, correct? Well, yeah, they said that no one is illegal on stolen land. That was what Billie Eilish said. So if that's the case, all the money that everybody made in that room was off stolen land, yes, and they cheered. Doesn't that mean that everybody in the room that agreed with them should actually relinquish all of their possessions and properties and donate all of it to Indian culture? I really wish I was a reporter there, because I would love to see all of their faces and reactions when asked to relinquish all their possessions for earning them in the land of stolen land. Thank you very much. Yes, their hypocrisy. A lot of people shared Billie Eilish's mansion, a photo of her mansion showing just how elaborate it is. But in her world, even if you were to ask the question, Steve, in her world, that hypocrisy doesn't matter, because she gets invited to the cool after parties. They have people telling her how brave she was with her security guards, with her living in her mansion, isolated from the real world. She's so brave for doing something that in no way, shape, or form will have any sort of repercussion against her. If anything, it boosts her career in the far left. So it's not brave at all. But you're exactly right. Hey, I know we haven't had a Marjorie Taylor Greene update in a while. I don't understand it. I guess she's missing the limelight. She's missing the interviews on The View. She said over the weekend that President Trump's Make America Great Again slogan was a lie. I think people are realizing it was all a lie. It was a big lie for the people. What MAGA is really serving in this administration, who they're really serving, is their big donors. The big donors that donated all the money and continue to donate to the president's PACs and donate to the 250th anniversary and are donating to the big ballroom. Just had to keep you updated on that. We're always going to have those Republicans. I mean, it kind of goes in line. I'm not saying Billie Eilish was ever a Republican, but she knows that only helps her career. Marjorie Taylor Greene, same with Billie Eilish. They know if they say these things, that helps her career. She'll get invited back on The View if you're Marjorie Taylor Greene. Billie Eilish will get to more after parties. It's a story as old as time in politics and in Hollywood pop culture. Now, if what takes bravery, and I saw he was ridiculed by the left for it, but like we mentioned with Jelly Roll, praising Jesus Christ, that took courage. If you were to see and I don't know if it's been seen, if I'm being honest, a presenter, an MC, someone getting up there and praising the Trump administration, praising any Republican administration, praising anything a Republican has done, that would be brave, okay? What Billie Eilish did, what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing there in a very different venue is not brave. It's self-preservation in some instances, but it's also looking out for number one at the end of the day. So I like how CNN presents this. Oh, no, I said no. We're going to talk about the government shutdown here in just a moment, but I wanted to play this clip from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. We ran out of time yesterday. I didn't want to play it when he was on the program. He sent this out over social media. It's just kind of a little look at things in Albany, and I know we've had a lot of Phil on the program, and I don't want you to go through withdrawals, so I thought I'd play that for you now.
Hi, my name is Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. I'm the current ranking member on the Assembly Energy Committee. Well, I think it's important to have hearings to hold the governor and their agency heads accountable for the policies they're advancing. Yes, they continue to talk about energy affordability and energy reliability, but their policies are not matching the words. You don't have to listen to Phil Palmisano. Just talk to the New York Independent System Operators, because they have given warning after warning. Short-term and long-term jeopardization to the reliability of the grid. All-Electric Buildings Act, all-electric school bus mandates, these aren't things that are going to stabilize the grid. Natural gas has always been referred to as a bridge fuel. You don't tear down a bridge before you build a new one, but that's exactly what the Democrats in Albany are trying to do. The fact of the matter is this plan has been estimated to cost New Yorkers over $250 billion, maybe as much as $500 billion. The Cap and Invest program that the governor pushed forward in the budget, by their own admission, it's going to increase costs at the pump for New Yorkers by 62 cents a gallon, and increase natural gas home heating costs by 80%. How is that affordable? How can they advocate for affordable policies when that's part of their policy? That's why I can promise you, myself and our Assembly Republican Conference will continue to advocate for common sense, affordability, reliability, feasibility, safety, fuel diversity, and energy choice, because New Yorkers deserve that.
And we thank Phil for sending that in. All right. Before we go to break, there's a change in date, and I know that many of you look forward to this. Obviously, it's the nutrition workshops at the Painted Post Food Pantry. That's 201 North Hamilton Street in Painted Post. The nutrition workshops are at the pantry, and they're held from 10:30 to 11:30. This month is tomorrow, February the 4th. You go, you register for door prizes, you sip some beverages, enjoy light refreshments, sample the recipe that Mary Ellen Bunce, the friendly nutritionists, make. Take home a free kitchen tool as well. It'll be about an hour, 10:30 to 11:30, and that is tomorrow at the Painted Post Food Pantry, 201 North Hamilton Street in Painted Post. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that in case I ever got my info wrong. Comment from a viewer. It was all leftist propaganda. And that is in reference to the Grammys. It's a story as old as time. It's not anything new. And that's why many have decided to tune out. All right, we got to take a short break. Stick with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
A concert of diva showstoppers featuring a Glinda and Elphaba from the Broadway company of Wicked.
Quite as popular.
Good Witch, Bad Witch has been thrilling audiences coast to coast with their stunning vocals and playful banter. Good Witch, Bad Witch this Thursday at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemencencenter.org.
Dear Coach.
Dear Coach, they don't teach you that inner strength is the most important kind of strong. But you taught me that.
They don't teach you how to build confidence in yourself or how to deal with all the pressures all at once. But you taught me that.
First tee was more than golf. It's where I discovered what I'm capable of.
You didn't just prepare me for 18 holes. You were preparing me for every day of my life. Learn more at firsttee.org.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be milder today. Enjoy it while it lasts. 30 degrees, 31 in Corning. And you can see Watkins Glen at 30. We'll see a chance for a little light snow from time to time, a few flurries. And then we drop down to 9. We have a late cutter coming through on Thursday and into Friday. Now that's going to kick up the wind a little bit, and also an Arctic blast follows that. So we'll get some snow showers here Friday with very cold.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. I am totally disappointed about the Texas state senator election. The complacency of the conservative Republicans. You look at Mamdani in New York City, Virginia governor. This is quite concerning for the midterm elections. Disgusted by this. And with the debacle of immigration enforcement, which I support, but it needs to be handled differently, I'm afraid of the loss of Congress to Democrats. Yeah, even Hakeem Jeffries was getting kind of cocky about it, saying after that there is, what was the number he put at it? Do I have it right here handy? Essentially saying that Republicans aren't going to win even 5 seats back. Where was it? But he also, of course, in typical Democrat fashion, had to make sure to use some foul language in it. Yes, Republicans done blanked up in Texas, and they know it. We knew it months ago, and it's because of a variety of reasons, said Hakeem Jeffries. California responded decisively, and we will pick up 5 seats as a result of Prop 50. It remains to be seen what happens in Texas, but I can guarantee you they won't win 5 seats. They're going to struggle to win 3 based on the 2024 performance alone. So that's in Texas. Now, to your point, to the viewer's point, Daniel McCarthy writes, just how badly did Republicans do in 2 Texas special elections over the weekend? Not as badly as apocalyptic headlines and left-leaning outlets would suggest, but badly enough that Republicans nationwide have to learn some serious lessons. The GOP lost both races, but one was for a U.S. House seat that's been in Democrat hands for decades. Kristen Menefree's victory narrows the GOP's congressional majority only because that safely blue seat had been vacant since Representative Sylvester Turner died last March. The other contest, which yielded an upset, was for a Texas state Senate seat that will be up for election again in November before the legislature convenes. So as you see, it's not the way they presented it in the media. One was a House seat. But to the viewer's point, we still must be concerned. But one was a House seat that was safely blue, remain blue. The other was a state Senate seat that, Texas state Senate seat. I should word that appropriately. And that'll be up for election again in November before the legislature convenes. In other words, the victorious Democrat, Taylor Renmet, won't get the vote on anything before Texans get another vote on him. And the November race that really matters is certainly to have stronger turnout than Saturday's special election. The trouble is, Renmet didn't just win, he won by more than 14 points in a red-leaning Fort Worth area district. Democrats and much of the media converged on the same message. This was a district Donald Trump won by roughly 17 points in 2024. The swing away from the GOP was more than 30 points, a staggering humiliation that proves a Republican wipeout in November. But comparing presidential elections to state Senate elections and a January special election at that is absurd. Never mind presidential years, Saturday's turnout was pitiful even in comparison to a typical off-year state legislative race. Merely 94,000 people voted. Barely a third as many as participated the last time the seat was up in a general election back in 2022, when nearly 278,000 ballots were cast. The advantage the party opposing the White House historically enjoys in midterms applies all the more in special elections. The opposition is always more motivated, and it takes especially intense motivation to get voters to the polls in January after a winter storm. Add the fact that the real contest for the seat is the one in November, and Saturday's winning doesn't actually get to attend, the winner doesn't actually get to attend the legislature. And the scenario for maximizing the protest vote and minimizing Republican turnout was perfect. On top of that, the GOP was divided. In the special election's first round last fall, 2 Republicans vied against each other as well as Renman, allowing him to beat them both. Wounds from the intra-party rivalry hadn't healed by the time of the runoff. All this means the Republican performance was abysmal, not catastrophic. The party could count on doing better in November, but better won't be good enough unless the GOP gets its act together. In Texas and around the country, the last thing Republicans should do is swallow the Democrat line that fixes the blame for the GOP's woes on Trump and his agenda. In fact, Democrats won in Texas by borrowing from Trump's playbook. Renman ran as a populist and went all out to secure the working class vote. He played up his background as a machinist, union member, and veteran. Trump is president today because he's a master at winning blue-collar voters who like him but don't like the Republican brand. When Trump's on the ballot, his personal brand is strong enough to boost his party down ticket. But in midterms, Republicans are on their own. Indeed, they get the worst of both worlds. Anti-Trump voters turn out to punish his party, while pro-Trump voters who don't feel much connection to the GOP itself stay home in droves. Republicans have to overcome this by making Trump's brand their own, giving his working-class voters reason to vote for them on their own merit without Trump on the ballot. They have to do this while maintaining party unity, unlike what just transpired in Texas, despite free market conservatives' unease about populism, and despite the tendency of some religious conservatives to think social issues are enough to win without making a pocketbook pitch to the working class. It's in typically red regions, like Texas's 9th Senate district, that the GOP is most hazardly complacent. Those are the places where the old formulas have worked best for the longest time, which leaves an opening for Democrats to go after the working class votes many Republicans ignore. The GOP isn't just lazy, it's scared. Keeping social and economic conservatives together in a single coalition is hard enough. Why complicate it by trying to squeeze in populists as well? Trump, of course, has answered that because it's what's necessary to win nationwide. And increasingly, that's what it takes to win places like Texas, too. With or without Trump on the ballot, the GOP survival now depends on the coalition he pioneered. I thought that was an interesting takeaway, especially after that person commented in that way, because there is real concern. All right, we got to take a short break, and then we're getting ready to wrap up hour number 1, so stay with us.
From exceptional member service to easy, reliable, and secure digital banking and a deep commitment to the communities we call home, First Heritage is proud to be part of our members' everyday lives. That's why we're honored to be named Best Credit Union in the Twin Tiers 5 years in a row and Best Locally Owned Business in 2025. To our members, thank you for your trust, your loyalty, and your votes. And if you're not yet a member, visit fhfcu.org or stop by your local branch and see for yourself what makes First Heritage the best.
So New York's new extra multiplier ticket multiplies your winnings up to 100 times.
I won.
What are you gonna do with all those Benjamins?
For Ben.
Oh. Great farm, Benjamin.
Benjamin, tip.
Play New York Lottery's extra multiplier scratch-off games for chances to multiply your Benjamins between 10 and 100 times. Prizes up to $3 million.
I can't wait to spend each and every one of you.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Comments from viewers. I'm glad that Pennsylvania is close to us here in Elmira. I feel sorry for those who will have to pay the already high prices of gasoline and so on, so forth, as compared to all the other states. Thank you very much. The interesting thing about PA is, though, with Josh Shapiro as their governor, they've been making some changes, not as quickly as we did in New York going left, but there has been some concern. Comment from Farmer John. He doesn't think we should give those people at the Grammys any airtime at all. No one cares what they no one cares what they think. Excuse me, I'm tongue twisted. I think the only reason, Farmer John, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, the people with our day-to-day life don't mean anything. But I remember Andrew Breitbart had said that politics is downstream from culture. And I think there's a point to be had there. So again, I'm with you. It's not necessary to continue to bring up what Billie Eilish and others said, but to take pop culture, to not take it seriously can be a detriment. And Republicans did that for a very long time, and it was detrimental. It took someone like Trump, who was kind of pop culture, who was in that realm, to really turn things around and make Republicans quote-unquote cool again, to show that the kind of the rock and roll aspect of being a Republican, that you can go to Bruce Springsteen's concert and spend $300 a ticket and have him lecture you about the rich, have him lecture you about what's happening in Minneapolis, but that's not rock and roll, that's not cool anymore. That's just fitting into the square box, the same that Billie Eilish did there, by just the same old talking points that have been said a million times. But if we don't take it somewhat seriously, because remember, a lot of young people, a lot of middle-aged people want to like these pop stars. They want to follow what they have to say. So it's something we can't completely brush off. That's my thought on it personally. But I do think it is we have to judge about how much time we do. So key House conservatives bow to Trump. Do you see how CNN words it? That's how they always word it. Because no one could be in support of Trump's agenda. They must be scared of him. They must bow to him because of his loyalty tests. It's such a weak argument, but one that we've heard a million times. That's ahead of the government shutdown, the government funding vote, signaling a swift end to the shutdown, according to CNN. We're trying to get you some breaking news on that because I know there's some back and forth. There always is during a government shutdown scenario. But we got to go to hour number 2 here in just a moment. Unbelievable. That went fast, didn't it? Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 moments away. Stay with us.
When winter weather hits the Twin Tiers, the road changes fast, and your tires should keep up. At Tire World, we're here to make sure you're ready for every snowy morning, icy curb, and late-night drive home. From all season to dedicated snow tires, our experts help you find the perfect fit for your car, your budget, and the way you drive. Fast service, trusted brands, and safety you can feel every mile. Don't wait for the first storm and roll into winter with confidence. Tire World of Corning, family service you can trust.
MAF stands for the Modular Airborne Firefighting System. We fly assisting the U.S. Forest Service in their firefighting efforts.
Tanker 05, I need a drop on my location.
The fire retardant that we drop establishes a fire containment line so the fire doesn't burn through it.
It helps out the guys on the ground who are actually building trench lines, hand lines.
Outstanding job, 05. Thank you very much.
Most recently, we've had some fires out here in Colorado. We've also been deployed to several other areas, including California.
Saving property, saving lives. Start your adventure with the Air Force Reserve.
Visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News for news, local events, and more.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be milder today. Enjoy it while it lasts. 30 degrees, 31 in Corning. And you can see Watkins Glen at 30. We'll see a chance for a little light snow from time to time, a few flurries. And then we drop down to 9. We have a late cutter coming through on Thursday and into Friday. Now that's going to kick up the wind a little bit and also
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. As I mentioned, it looks as if There'll be an end to the shutdown. We can talk about that in just a moment. But yesterday on the program, someone asked about, where all these protests, because last week there was something like 4 protests in the Steuben County area, and they're happening nearly daily here in places like Corning, Elmira, obviously Ithaca. But asked where the funding comes from. And you've heard my thoughts on this in the past, that there are some people making money, but there's also the people that kind of, in the terms of political jargon, useful idiots, meaning that they're not getting paid while the leaders that mislead them are. Well, this is interesting too. This is coming from Chadwick Moore at the New York Post, and this just came out about 15 minutes ago. It's the same dark money with new signs. Anti-ICE protests in Minnesota may appear to be grassroots campaigns organized by concerned citizens, but they really are funded with mega donor money, some even coming from China. The so-called Ice Out March attracted an estimated 15,000 left-wing political activists to a frozen, snow-covered Minneapolis on Friday, with attendees chanting "Ice Out Now" and demanding an end to federal immigration enforcement in the city. Although framed as a spontaneous uprising of concerned, everyday people, the demonstration, like countless that have regularly metastasized during Trump's presidencies, featured a familiar cast of politically obsessed activists and terminally online characters. They organize on radical message boards and encrypted texting apps, but are backed by funds created by radical left-wing billionaires. Scott Walter, president of Capital Research, said, "My team's best judgment is that it's the Neville Singman network that is most active in Minnesota, partly because that's the most crazy network, but they aren't alone." Walters was referring to the People's Forum and the Party for Socialism and Liberation, both funded by China-based former software executive Neville Singman. Both groups promoted the Ice Out protests, which were organized by another group called 50501. And if you recall, I mentioned that on Friday's broadcast. Through social media, and Walter said their members were in attendance, but he noted they have recently been getting their members to blend in more with the crowds. What's new is we are seeing truly extreme communist splinter groups showing up alongside an American Federation for Teachers Union or the Ford Foundation. That's a disturbing trend for us who follow these things. Normally, they wouldn't have been cheek by jowl publicly with these people. That kind of self-policing on the left seems to be disappearing. Sigmund, who did not respond to a request for comment, has become a major funder of left-wing activist networks, including protests in Minnesota and other cities, all coordinated from his base in Shanghai. They work together through Byzantine networks of understanding. An average protester might have a dim understanding of the Neville Sigmund network, but will be friends with people in several other groups. He himself probably belongs to half a dozen groups because their groups are constantly metastasizing new names. So it's the same. So essentially what this boils down to, money being flowing in, to fund the anti-ICE protests, just like we saw the funding of the anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas protests not that long ago. Also, George Soros' name is thrown in there as well. He is a part of it. Other prominent left-wing activist groups present across Minnesota since mass civil disruption began late last year, including Indivisible, funded by George Soros' Open Society Foundation, the Sunrise Movement, and Unidos Minnesota. Tax filings and other records reviewed by the New York Post show that since 2016, the Sunrise Movement took in at least $2 million from funders in the so-called Arabella Network, a DC-based progressive network. I know this all gets a little wonky, but keep that in mind when you do see the professional posters. When you see everyone chanting the same kind of messages with the same kind of talking points. And remember, when we talked about it last week with Steuben County, now I don't know if anybody made anything, there's any funding for those groups that showed up at the legislature, but they had their talking points, they had their ways to communicate, but also, remember, their leader fabricated a story about an ICE detention center being built in Steuben County. It was an outright fabrication, was not the case, but it got more supporters out for that person's cause, so that when the TV crews showed up, it would look as if their numbers were huge, when in fact those people were duped. They were misled to attend. So they had to change their talking points at the last minute and say that no ICE. It was all about, it doesn't matter. They hate ICE. Okay. So after fierce lobbying pushed by President Trump and GOP leaders, and we're going to talk more about Minnesota and Minneapolis and throughout the country, I just thought that that was interesting because someone had asked about that just yesterday. Okay. So after the lobbying push by President Trump and GOP leaders, Congress is on the cusp of ending the partial government shutdown in the next 24 hours. Key House conservative holdouts appeared ready to stand down after threatening to catapult Washington into a bitter standoff over a sprawling government spending bill that funds 3/4 of federal agencies. It took Trump personally twisting the arms of GOP lawmakers and even bringing some of the White House to support the bill for those Republicans to signal a willingness to back down. Multiple GOP sources told CNN they expected Trump's sales pitch to be successful in the end, since few members are willing to defy the president on a direct ask. But the threat was enough to send Johnson scrambling to meet with key Republicans as he sought to lock down the votes in his unruly conference for the government funding deal, loathed by some Republicans, that Trump struck with Senate Democrats. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, the Florida Republican, and roughly a half dozen other conservatives have been vowing to block the funding bill if Speaker Johnson didn't agree to attach their bill, which would tighten restrictions for voting in the U.S., including requiring proof of citizenship. But by Monday night, the Congresswoman and at least one of those hardliners, Representative Tim Burkett of Tennessee, said that after meeting with Trump, they're now leaning in favor of advancing the bill to reopen the government. Quote, based on our discussions right now, we're moving towards voting in favor of advancing the funding package, Luna said. Congress now appears on a path to avoid a prolonged shutdown, though Johnson would still face lingering concern from other members on Tuesday as he faces some of the toughest math in the history of the House. House GOP leaders can only afford to lose a single Republican vote since no Democrats are expected to back the majority party's procedural vote. One Republican, Representative Byron Donalds of Florida, told CNN on Monday that he would require the voter ID law to be attached to the funding bill before he could back leadership on a key procedural vote Tuesday. My position has been loud and clear. Asked about implications of a lengthy shutdown, Donald said, talk to the Senate. The Senate's the one that screwed this up, not us. All right. So the plan to end the government shutdown survives that key House hurdle. That was on Monday night, teeing up the legislation for a vote in the House of Representatives today. The House Rules Committee, the final gatekeepers before most bills get a chamber-wide vote, advanced the upper chamber's deal with the White House with little internal discord among Republicans on the panel. But the measure could face issues on the House floor during a second procedural hurdle called a rule vote, which needs a simple majority of lawmakers to unlock debate and a vote on final passage. House votes normally fall along partisan lines, and Speaker Johnson will need virtually all GOP lawmakers to vote in lockstep. The current partial shutdown, affecting roughly 78% of the federal government, is in its third day. Were you aware of that? In its third day, after Congress failed to send its remaining spending bills to President Trump's desk by January 30th. House lawmakers passed an initial set of bipartisan bills to finish funding the government through the end of fiscal year 2026, but Democrats rebelled against the plan en masse in protest of Trump's immigration crackdown in Minnesota. So you're not seeing a lot of blame put on Democrats. Seems to be more on Republicans coming together. The Senate passed the New Deal on Friday, but House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is sharply divided from his counterpart, Chuck Schumer, in his position, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Senator Roger Marshall, a Republican from Kansas, derided Democrats and Hakeem Jeffries for their refusal to approve funding for the Department of Homeland Security and end the partial government shutdown. Now, this is a scenario where I feel like many in power positions are watching, frankly speaking. Because we've had numerous people echo our talking points here. And in this case, it's Senator Roger Marshall's. The Fox News host, who was it? John Roberts said, Senator, are you optimistic that the government shutdown will end tomorrow? And Senator Roger Marshall said, the frustration here is, once again, the Republicans are the party of law and order. The Democrats are the party of defund the police. This is the next chapter in the Democrats refusing to fund DHS, refusing to fund the police enforcement right now. So I think that's the real issue. That's along with the fact that Congressman Jeffries was kind of left out of the conversation. So he's retaliating now by taking all of the votes out of it. Again, the Speaker has an impossible task. He only has a one-person margin, but I have confidence that he'll be able to get that job done. So as we've been saying on the program, this is the next chapter of Defund the Police. We said that numerous times last week, that the anti-ICE protests, the anti-ICE sentiment coming from Washington by the Democrat Party is reminiscent, is akin to the campaign talking point of defund the police. Now, moderate, I don't even know if you'd call him a Republican. I think most people would call him probably a rhino, and that was former Governor John Kasich. He believes there's a growing number of Republicans saying enough to trump deportations. I'm not going to go through all of his rhetoric and his talking points, but basically what it boils down to is the Republicans will side with one side and the Democrats won't. And right now, the country overwhelmingly Democrat, independent, and growing numbers of Republicans say enough. That is not the America that we believe in. So wanting to go, I guess, back to open borders and no kind of punishment for the illegal immigration, that's according to John Kasich. That growing number of Republicans are saying enough to trump deportations. House Minority Whip, Representative Catherine Clark, Democrat from Massachusetts, argued yesterday that Kristi Noem should be impeached because she named Renee Good a domestic terrorist within hours without investigation. Okay. The grounds would be that she has allowed a part of DHS to let down the American people, to not focus on their security, but to allow ICE to become a tool of political retribution for this president. She named Renee Good a domestic terrorist within hours, without investigation, and is still refusing to do an investigation. The list of things that Kristi Noem has done to threaten the security of the American people is lengthy, and we are proceeding. We are going to be the voice of the American people in Congress who are demanding accountability. We are going to build our case. We will continue to hold town halls, investigative hearings. We will listen and collect evidence, and together with the American people, we will hold Kristi Noem and the GOP accountable for the abuses of this lawless administration. All right, we've got a couple other things on Republicans and Democrats talking about ICE. We're going to talk more about, we do have a couple of updates on New York that I need to get to, and I see your comments are coming in, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
A concert of diva showstoppers featuring a Glinda and Elphaba from the Broadway company of Wicked.
Quite as popular.
Good Witch Bad Witch has been thrilling audiences coast to coast with their stunning vocals and playful banter. Good Witch Bad Witch this Thursday at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemenscenter.org.
We're out of the facility here. So reporter Haley Livingston. I'm here at the scene. Fire police blocking off this side of the facility. We will keep you updated on everything happening.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Because even one attack is one too many.
Every has a community, a neighborhood, school, place of worship, or other chosen groups. Communities can provide support when you need it, including helping your kids avoid underage drinking and other substance use. Learn more at talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be milder today. Enjoy it while it lasts. 30 degrees, 31 in Corning, and you can see Watkins Glen at 30. We'll see a chance for a little light snow from time to time, a few flurries. And then we drop down to 9. We have a lake cutter coming through on Thursday and into Friday. Now that's going to kick up the wind a little bit, and also an Arctic blast follows that. So we'll get some snow showers here Friday with very cold temperatures coming in Friday night.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. The commies are coming. Let's get the state of Revere in motion. That was in reference to a comment, I'm sure the same viewer, creating two states here in New York State, one for the city, and then one that this viewer wants to name, like Paul Revere, Revere, the state of Revere. Thank you. Mark writes in, people should have to show ID to vote someone. Let me try that again. People should have to show ID to vote. Someone here illegally has no right to vote. You're exactly right, Mark, and I know that's what Republicans are demanding. Ken writes in, do you remember back in the late 23, early 24, there was a lot of news reporting showing what they reported as 100,000 plus military-aged Chinese men flooding across the California border? I do remember that. I know a man that lived in China for several years. He was very worried about them entering the country en masse. He said that in his experience, people don't flee China due to fear of what will happen to their families when government officials find out that they are gone. So I wonder whatever happened to those men. I've heard nothing about them. Have you? I have not. And that was a real concern. I know we talked about on the program when Biden was in office that this idea of military-aged men from China, but elsewhere as well, was a major concern. But now you see the John Kasichs of the world, but also the mainstream media trying to push this idea that no one likes Trump's deportation policies in a hopes, I guess, to continue the policies of the Biden administration. But I have not heard anything, Ken. I haven't. Representative Christian Menifee, a Democrat from Texas, who was sworn in on Monday evening after winning that special election, says that she backs fully abolishing the agency, meaning ICE. I think you have to rip it down to the studs. I want to abolish it. I think you rip it down to the studs, and when it comes back, it shouldn't be ICE anymore. So there you are. That's who won that special election, again, in an already blue seat, but she did win it. But abolish ICE, just like that one Republican who stole my talking point. I'm just kidding. But we've been saying it for a while. The abolish ICE crowd is just coming off the back of defund the police. It's all the same group. Now, Rand Paul, I'm surprised no one commented on this yesterday, but I did miss it. I guess Rand Paul was on 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley. He eviscerated Trump's administration's, quote, lies on the Preddy shooting, calling it terrible judgment. He pulled no punches on Sunday night to criticize the Trump administration's response to the killing of Alex Preddy last week by ICE agents. Paul, whose more libertarian leanings have led him calling out ICE's heavy-handed tactics, he joined 60 Minutes to discuss the shooting of Preddy last week and the reaction from top Trump officials to the killing. I just got to say, whatever you think about Rand Paul, whatever his talking points are here, he would not have gotten a slot on 60 Minutes if it weren't for the fact that he was going to badmouth Trump and the administration and the ICE tactics. I mean, I guess some Republicans don't care how they get the attention as long as they get it, and that could be it. But if you go to a place that would never normally have you on unless you are going to badmouth your own party and leader, I don't quite understand it. It's a trap that Republicans have fallen into as long as I remember, but it's worth noting. So Paul said, I saw no evidence. I saw a man that was retreating. I mean, he went to the middle of the street. He didn't even obstruct traffic. He let a car go through. As the agents advanced on him, he retreated to the side of the street. A woman is violently pushed to the ground, and he turns to help her. And that's when he is grabbed from behind. I saw no evidence of him assaulting the police. So Pelley, seeing an opportunity here, said, should Secretary Noem be fired? Rand Paul saying, I think we have to get through our hearing February 12th, and I think we have to see what the people who work for her say. But my advice to them, if they're watching and they come to testify, is if you come in and you're going to justify that this man was aggressively assaulting your police officers, that cannot be acceptable, and that's why they're lacking in trust. He then played clips of some of the statements from top Trump officials on the shooting. Stephen Miller, Bovino. Paul shook his head at Miller's statement. Miller's statement was that he called Preddy an assassin. Paul said, it sounds like terrible judgment. I mean, terrible conclusions, incorrect conclusions, stating things that no one else believes. You can lie to your heart's content if there's no video, but the video doesn't support what they're saying. That's when Scott Pelley went in for the kill, saying, you seem to be saying trust is broken. With Rand Paul saying without a question. So all we got is whatever you think. I'm just saying, whatever you think about what happened in Minneapolis, all I know is that Rand Paul would not have normally gotten that opportunity if that weren't the theme of his conversation. Now, there are companies ditching ICE, companies that are no longer going to do business with ICE. Capgemini, a former French consulting and information technology company, said it will sell a U.S. division that does business with ICE. Like other businesses with links to ICE, they have come under fire or scrutiny as criticism mounts over the agency's heavy-handed enforcement tactics. Anyway, that's coming from CNN. All fitting the mold. We've got some more. We're going to talk about Don Lemon. We do have a couple of New York State updates. We covered so much this morning. You can circle back if any of those topics you want to discuss. I'd love to hear from you. And how did the Rotary Pancake breakfast for dinner go yesterday? The Groundhog's Day pancake for breakfast dinner. I'd love to hear how it went. We have some other special events coming up. We've got guests coming up all week too. All week too. You're going to have to stay tuned because some of them are not quite booked in stone. They're not completely in the books, but when they are, you will be the first to know. Getting distracted. A lot of people out there for as cold as it is this morning. All right, keep your comments, keep your waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Seven reasons to buy certified pre-owned vehicles at Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
3 months or 3,000-mile maximum care coverage.
Carfax Vehicle History Report.
Car rental allowance. 24-hour roadside assistance.
125-point vehicle inspection.
3-month Sirius XM radio.
Chilson Wilcox, selling cars a different way, the right way.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be milder today. Enjoy it while it lasts. 30 degrees, 31 in Corning, and you can see Watkins Glen at 30. We'll see a chance for a little light snow from time to time, a few flurries. And then we drop down to 9. We have a late cutter coming through on Thursday and into Friday. Now that's going to kick up the wind a little bit, and also an Arctic blast follows that. So we'll get some snow showers here Friday with very
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. All right, let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? Looks like the Democrats have taken a play from the Trump playbook. If you don't like what they are doing, cut the funding. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. First off, ICE would not be heavy-handed if people got out of the way and let them do their job. And if local officials would do their job and help turn people over. Yeah, there's actually, and we're going to talk about Don Lemon here in just a moment, but Rafael Manguel writes at the New York Post, an op-ed, and Manguel is the Nick Onell Fellow at the Manhattan Institute for Policy Research. He says, you really can't make this up. And this is kind of in reference to what this viewer is saying. A previously deported illegal immigrant named Orlando Miguel Mora, whose rap sheet includes attempted rape and strangulation, was back in a New York City courtroom last week on a shoplifting charge, which was the second arrest in the month of January, the first being for crack possession. That's actually not the unbelievable part of the story. It is New York City, after all. The reason Mora's most recent criminal case made news is that the New York City judge, Sheridan Jack Brown, allowed him to waltz right out of the courthouse despite being made aware of a federal criminal warrant for Mora's arrest. The result was that upon realizing that Mora had been released, federal agents had to chase him down and take him into custody on the street. Crisis averted, for now maybe. Mora's release does not seem to have been an oversight, but rather a deliberate choice meant to make it possible for him to evade federal authorities. And this is not the first time we've seen this. This is kind of the MO of these activist judges, not participating with federal authorities. So the danger this puts the public into, not just because of this Mora fella, what he could do if he evades law enforcement, but also the victims, the potential victims of Mora, also the ICE going to arrest him, and the people around trying to stop it, and the protests and the violence. The question New York City doesn't seem willing to answer is, why not hand Mr. Mora over? Having been previously deported, Mora has no legal right to be in New York or any other part of the country for that matter. His presence in New York has clearly been detrimental to the city's residents. After all, the city and state official position is that Mora is in fact a criminal, which is why he's been prosecuted. Given his priors, it seems unlikely Mora will suddenly desist from his life of crime and become a net contributor to society. Allowing federal authorities to take custody of Mora and offenders like him in a controlled environment would spare the city from having to expend further resources to prosecute and continue to police Mora's criminal misconduct. It would also protect law-abiding city residents from the criminal victimization Mora can reasonably be expected to inflict. And it will reduce the chances of federal agents having to use force to get the person they're after into custody if they end up running or violently resisting. Moreover, allowing the feds to take custody of Mora would spare New York Democrats the embarrassment of having to defend a bail policy that would put a repeat offender, one with a past that includes a violent sex offense, on the street rather than in pretrial detention. What exactly is the downside here? Who benefits from a decision like this one to release Mora? Democrats won't say. There are two other questions worth investigating here. The first is whether by allowing Mora to make a run for it, Judge Jack Brown committed the same criminal offense of obstructing that Milwaukee Judge Hannah C. Dugan was just recently convicted of in federal criminal court. And we talked about that in the past. Why are there no repercussions for these judges? The second is whether Jack Brown received any guidance on what to do with the warrant for Mora's arrest, or if she acted alone. If she acted on the advice of official counsel from a city agency, that would be an especially troubling development. While the city is already bound by a sanctuary policy that prohibits it from actively assisting in any federal immigration enforcement matter, knowingly helping an offender evade federal authorities is a horse of a different color and would constitute a major scandal. There would be no way to couch active participation in an effort to help an offender evade federal authorities, especially one with a criminal warrant, as anything but an escalation of the ongoing disputes between the Trump administration and officials in cities like LA, Minneapolis, and Chicago. New York City has already gotten a taste of the chaos we've seen in those cities. One would think our leaders would be trying to bring the temperature down. Instead, however, they seem hell-bent on courting more unrest. Which brings us back to the original question, why? Why do they want this chaos and this unrest? Now, we learned yesterday The Pam Bondi detailed new arrests made in the Minnesota church storming, and then talked about Don Lemon. Don Lemon getting exactly what he wanted. He was on Jimmy Kimmel's show last night, got to, be the face of the resistance. Attorney General Pam Bondi criticized former CNN anchor Don Lemon on Hannity last night for defending his illegal actions at a Minnesota church anti-ICE protest as a, quote, act of journalism. So anyone with a camera then would be allowed, under Lemon's theory, to come in and attack a church like that and riot a church on a Sunday morning. You can't do that in this country. It's illegal. We're going to prosecute you, and you will be held accountable. Doesn't matter if you're a failed journalist with a camera in your hand, you cannot do it. Bondi's remarks followed the arrest of 2 more individuals in connection with the invasion of that church. Quote, these people committed a crime under the FACE Act, and they will be held accountable. 9 of them have been charged, and you will not do this in our country. We're coming after you if you do. She characterized it as a tax-style bombardment on a house of worship. There were children crying. There were parents blocked from getting upstairs to take their children out of Sunday school. A group of women ran out a side door. Multiple people fell on the ice. One woman severely damaged her arm, had to go to the hospital. These parishioners thought they were going to get shot, and that's reasonable for them to be terrified and scared when we've seen shootings at churches, when we've seen attacks in churches. So these people thought that they were running for their lives, all because Don Lemon and others thought that the religious service was an appropriate place to protest. And remember, in their arrogance and ignorance, pushing the idea that their First Amendment right trumps yours, I guess, to worship on private property. The Attorney General alleged the incident was led by a resistance operation. They met in a parking lot about 2 miles away while people were filing into the church. They were caravanning to this church to perform an attack-style infiltration on a church service on a Sunday morning. According to the indictment, all 9 individuals are charged with interfering with others' freedoms to worship under the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, which protects the right to worship freely at places of worship. Lemon has strongly pushed back on the indictment, saying his presence at the protest was a, quote, act of journalism, explaining that he was merely covering the event rather than participating. Blank off whoever you think is going to stop me from reporting. I'll say blank off if you think you're going to stop me from reporting, Lemon said on Instagram twice, apparently. I'm a journalist through and through and through, he said. And then he's loving the attention. He went on Jimmy Kimmel's show yesterday. Lemon began by revealing that his attorney, Abe Lowell, had reached out to the Justice Department prior to the arrest to discuss his client turning himself in, as top DOJ officials spoke openly about seeking charges, but that Lowell never heard back. He then offered a timeline of what had transpired. I pressed the elevator button, and then all of a sudden, I feel myself being jostled and people trying to grab me and put me in handcuffs. And I said, what are you doing here? They said, we came to arrest you. I said, who are you? And then they finally identify themselves. The ex-CNN host said that he then demanded to see a warrant, which the agents who grabbed him didn't have. So he said that they had to wait for an FBI agent from outside to bring a copy of the warrant on a cell phone. It had to be maybe a dozen people, which is a waste, Jimmy, of resources, he told Kimmel, because I had told them weeks before, maybe once or twice, that I could just go in and they don't have to be the folks that were working there that day. They didn't have to have all of these people follow me around. It's more than just a waste of resources, Kimmel responded. You're right about more than just a waste of resources, Lemon said. They want that. They want to embarrass you. They want to intimidate you. They want to instill fear, and so that's why they did it that way. All right. Last night, the DOJ sent a team of federal agents to arrest me in the middle of the night for something that I've been doing for the last 30 years, and that is covering the news. Who did I read and had a great point on this? Not looking forward to kind of the making Don Lemon a martyr. And that's what he's doing himself. So it comes as no surprise he's getting the attention that he likes. He loves this attention, and he wants to play the martyr. He wants to play the aggrieved, and that's exactly what he's doing, and he's loving every second of it. Oh, my goodness. I see a lot of comments coming in. Stay with us. We got to take a short break. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at iqairfoundation.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So many comments come in. All right, Mark says, I see Gnome said that from now on, ICE will be wearing body cams. The problem is, I see with this, it will feed the media and Democrats with more weapons against ICE. It could be. I mean, I'm not against the body cameras at all. I just think it's probably a good, for if nothing else, safety check. Comment from a different viewer. This chaos in our society is directly from the Alinsky Doctrine. Create chaos in society and lie to the citizens while destroying our constitutional republic. Saul Alinsky is the reference there. Comment from a different viewer. Why is it since cell phone cameras that people become idiots and think they can't be arrested just because they got their cell phone on photographing the police? It makes him immune to prosecution? That's crazy. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning to you. Don Lemon should stick to covering cat shows. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. If people came into my church yelling, I would have done the same thing and wanted to get out of the way of gunfire. The protesters need to be punished. Yes, I think you had people getting hurt because they're trying to run outside doors, trying to get their kids from Sunday school. There was real fear and terror. There was kids crying, parents nervous about what was to happen because we've seen attacks in churches, unfortunately. So yes, I do think there should be punishment. Whether or not there will be, there is, it looks like, the beginning, but we'll see now. As I said, Don Lemon loves being the victim, loves playing the martyr, loves going on Jimmy Kimmel and getting the attention. But at the end of the day, I got to believe Democrats know, and people that support Don Lemon, that storming a church during worship service is no way to protest, is no way to have people jump on your cause. You know, we've talked about this in the past when they'll shut down people's commute to work because they'll shut down a bridge or they'll protest in the streets. Again, who are you winning to your side? Are you winning those people in that church to your side who were just terrified, their kids are crying, you feared for your life or your children's lives? Are they going to say, oh, now I understand your cause, I'm going to side with you? I just don't understand it. Comment from a different viewer. The fraud in Minnesota is all part of their plot and no doubt happening in all blue states. Yeah, I think it almost goes without saying at this point. I agree. It's quite, yeah. Comment from a different viewer. I'm so sick of the hate and the disruption. I've been watching the Hallmark Channel rather than the news. And if Democrats right now are running for a dog catcher, I wouldn't vote for him. So if a Democrat right now is working and running for a dog catcher, I wouldn't vote for him. Thank you very much. Speaking of someone that you're not going to be voting for, Gavin Newsom. We're told over and over again that he is the star of the Democrat Party. He is begging donors to fork over cash for his memoir. Yes, he has a memoir coming out. Gavin Newsom is sweetening the deal for donors ahead of his expected 2028 presidential run. He's offering the supporters a copy of his memoir in exchange for donations of any amount. It's a good book, very personal, not your normal political book at all, Newsom wrote. The California governor is on the publicity trail for Young Man in a Hurry, which he claims lifts the lid on his strife-filled childhood as the son of a politically connected San Francisco attorney with close ties to the billionaire Getty family. His comments in the media about his supposedly rags to riches life story has already widely been mocked. The memoir details his colorful love life, struggles with dyslexia, and even the origins of the New Scum nickname popularized by Trump. The California Post, yes, because the New York Post now has a California wing, revealed that anyone who makes a donation to Newsom's campaign for Democracy Committee will receive a free copy. The average cost per book is $22.45, including shipping. If you can't give that, great. If you can only give $5, great. We just spent a bunch of money on passing Prop 50, so now I need to refill the coffers at my campaign for democracy for the fights ahead. And heaven knows there are many fights ahead. The memoir is billed as an intimate and poignant account of identity, belonging, and the defining moments that inspired a life in politics. It does stop in 2019 when Newsom became governor, okay? David Johnson, a PR professional who specializes in book launches, said hawking copies of the memoir as a political souvenir was fraught with risk. This move is a disaster for him long term. As a book publicist, it reframes the book as a political trinket. It signals the book can't stand on its own. It's nothing but a campaign vehicle. Now, they had some wildest parts in the book. I guess some people have been able to review it. I know many of you are excited to get ready to read it when it comes out. Maybe it is out. I'm not really sure. We know that it's that time of year in the presidential cycle. Newsom is releasing his book. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, also eyeing a 2028 run, released a memoir last month titled How We Keep the Light. So it is that time of year. Now, we do know that Gavin Newsom had an excuse for ignoring a relationship with a teenager who was 19 at the time when he was 38 years old. That was not a major focus of his memoir. He has defended not detailing his 20-year age gap relationship with model and college lacrosse star Brittany Mounts in his new memoir. Now, I don't want to go through, because did you realize that, maybe you don't know this, he was originally married to Kimberly Guilfoyle, and then he had this affair, and the 19-year-old was just a year later. I don't want to go through all this. The chatter around the relationship led to claims Mounts changed her age from 19 to 26 on MySpace. She was also accused of breaking the law when she was pictured holding a glass of wine at a premiere she attended with Newsom. The mayor's spokesman claimed he didn't give her a drink and didn't notice if she was drinking. When asked by the New York Times about why Mounts was omitted from his memoir, Newsom said they only went on a few dates. All right, there we go. Whatever that's worth. Axelrod. We're going to jump through some quick things here before I want to wrap up on New York State issues. Former Obama advisor David Axelrod says that President Donald Trump's changes to Washington, D.C. were, quote, sad and sort of profane. He has besmirched a national monument. It was designed by Congress as a national monument to a great president, John F. Kennedy, who is committed to the arts and actually did build the thing. The center was created in 1958 by President Eisenhower. It was John F. Kennedy who really put some oomph behind transforming the place into a great center for the arts. But this was the memorial that Congress settled on for him after he was assassinated, like the Lincoln Memorial, like the Washington Monument, and so on. So to just sort of casually throw that aside, I don't think it will stand over time. But the sad thing is, the president seems to mistake putting your names on buildings with greatness. Greatness is earned, and John F. Kennedy, his name was on that building because of the things that he did as president of the United States. The Lincoln Memorial is there because Abraham Lincoln saved the nation and led us through the Civil War. I mean, this says so much about who the president is and how he thinks. And it's sad for him and sad for our country. I worked in the White House for a couple of years, and I may have said this to you before, but I felt a sense of awe every time I worked in that. I walked into the building, and there it was. You had the sense of history all around you. I didn't find the building deficient in any way. I thought it was majestic in its humility. And it said something about our democracy. And all of Washington was filled with these monuments that had real meaning, and now it's sort of profane, what he's doing to it. On that note, stay with us. We got to take a short break and ready to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. So get all your comments in. We'll be right back.
Seven reasons to buy certified pre-owned vehicles at Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
3 months or 3,000-mile maximum care coverage.
Carfax Vehicle History Report.
Car rental allowance. 24-hour roadside assistance.
125-point vehicle inspection.
3-month Sirius XM radio.
Chilson Wilcox, selling cars a different way, the right way.
To them used to be, before talking to 988.
I felt alone.
I thought seeing hard things was just part of the job. I thought that having a bad day at work meant I was failing. But then I connected with someone at 988.
A real person texted back. Someone listened without judgment.
Now I know. Now I know it's okay to let someone help me too.
And I'm stronger than I thought.
We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition. Severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hasselson Studio. Oh, here's a nice comment. Good morning, Frank. Enjoy your day. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your day as well. That's very kind of you. We have a couple New York State issues I definitely want to get to. But first, we do have a long comment here from Rick. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. Trump is after anyone supplying oil to Cuba. Why does he have to be a jerk every day of his life? That's your sticking point on protecting Cuba. Todd Blanche says Trump wasn't involved in the Georgia voter fraud raid last week. Horse hockey. For the 100th time, Trump, you lost Georgia, and you're lucky you weren't prosecuted for election interference, of which you are guilty of. You lost to Sleepy Joe. And you're not supposed to talk to FBI agents while they're in the field doing your dirty work. Shame on Tulsi Gabbard. Let's see. We're not going to get the Trump stuff on Epstein. Okay, so Prince Andrew got some headlines this weekend. Guess we won't get the Trump stuff till 2029 when the next Democratic president gets sworn in. Yeah, I'm sure we will. He didn't hang out with Epstein because he needed a golf partner. Hey, let's rebuild the Kennedy Center for the next 2 years. Donald, it's not your building. Maybe you can have Powell oversee the project. He'll be looking for some work in May. Anyways, you could rebuild it for 100 years. Trump and nobody will ever come back as long as you're there and your name is on it. You're no more than a, well, I'm not gonna read that next part. It's all getting a little too far, am I being honest, Rick? But we're paraphrasing here a little bit. Todd Blanche is a giant liar. Must be Epstein was the only one that did anything wrong. Come on, Democrats and Republicans need to lock arms on this one. Happy Tuesday, Rick. Thank you, Rick. All right. So like I said about New York, Hochul signals that she's going to fast track on the New York immigration bills. We talked about this last week with Assemblyman Joe Sempolinsky and with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano last week and this week. Governor Hochul signaled yesterday that her administration may be open to bundling multiple immigration-related proposals into a single omnibus bill as she presses lawmakers to move quickly on legislation that would limit cooperation between local law enforcement agencies and federal immigration authorities. Hochul saying we could do that. There's a lot of ideas that the legislature has. Hochul said she wants legislation approved as soon as possible as Democrats who control both chambers of the legislature prepare to return to the Capitol this week and begin negotiations over a broader package of immigration protection measures. The governor's proposal, which was unveiled Friday, would bar local law enforcement agencies from renewing or re-entering the agreements with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement that allow local officers to assist with immigration enforcement or house detainees in county jails. She said the proposal would also allow New York local and state agencies to cooperate with federal authorities in cases involving immigrants accused of or convicted of violent crimes. Hochul spoke, we don't need to go through all that. So she's going to fast track, rush, because there's one thing that's always good in Albany and in New York when you rush things. And you make sure that the most important thing is the virtue signal. The most important thing is to get the attention for these bills and not really worry about if they're going to be successful or not worry about if they're going to be actually detrimental. It's just about getting the attention. Actually, Bruce Blakeman, who is her opponent, got a little bit of attention yesterday. We'll talk about that. We got to breeze through everything. Get your last second comments in as we wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Foss, your destination for both essential classics and new sensory journeys. Looking for something smooth and velvety, or long and satisfied with a savory, spicy finish? With a regionally recognized bourbon section, let us be your guide. Foster's, elevate your spirits.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be milder today. Enjoy it while it lasts. 30 degrees, 31 in Corning. And you can see Watkins Glen at 30. We'll see a chance for a little light snow from time to time, a few flurries. And then we drop down to 9. We have a late cutter coming through on Thursday and into Friday. Now that's going to kick up the wind a little bit, and also an Arctic blast follows that. So we'll get some snow showers here Friday with very
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Ken writes in, I can't wait for the 2028 Democratic presidential primaries. I'm hoping that Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris are candidates. It'll be so much fun to listen to the word salads and watch the flailing arms. Yeah, and now we know that originally there was talks of Tim Walz, Governor Walz being a candidate, but now he has said no more politics for him ever again. Speaking of kind of flailing arms and these type of things, it will be interesting to see that list continue to grow and who will be the candidate. All right. Out of Albany, New Yorkers are seeing just how far their dollars are going these days, and the bitter cold is fueling high energy bills. Well, on Monday, Bruce Blakeman, the Republican candidate for governor, appeared at a Conservative Party conference in Albany. He says utility bills are out of control and is calling for accountability and relief. He's calling out Governor Hochul, saying she is the one driving these costs up. He's promising action and also mentions that he plans to do it if he is the next governor. Now, we know because of her policies, her energy policies, yes, that's very much why your bills are so high. But Governor Hochul, you have been in charge for the last 4 years. You have made us the most unaffordable state in America, Blakeman said. He says New Yorkers pay 50% more in electrical costs and utility costs than the average state. Why is that? It's because almost 70% of your utility bill, over 70% of your utility bill goes to fees like delivery charges, taxes, policy mandates. I will cut the taxes, I will take the mandates out, and we will have all of the above approach to energy. We'll have different sources of energy so they compete against each other so that we can have an efficient delivery of energy. Now, he didn't go into exact details about energy sources he would prioritize, but he says he supports an all-of-the-above approach, including geothermal, natural gas, what he called clean coal, and nuclear power. We are raising the bar to 5 gigawatts. That's more nuclear power than is built anywhere in the United States in the last 30 years, said Governor Hochul in response. All right. Oh, I guess Mamdani was taking some heat, some friendly fire from his Democrat Socialist of America allies, as things aren't looking that great in the city. When you have the death of some homeless, you have, I guess, garbage piled up. A blizzard of lingering life or death failures after Winter Storm Fern had even mayors around Mamdani's left-wing allies blasting his fledgling administration. Boy, they told us at first that he handled it perfectly, remember? Seems as if that did not hold. City Councilwoman Shauna Haneff of Brooklyn begged her fellow Democrat Socialist of America member Mamdani for help as Con Edison outage that left nearly 2,000 without power in Granola Park, in Park Slope stretched into its second day. Anyway, getting some pushback from DSA. Now it's time to actually lead. A New York business coalition has launched to protect Jewish and Israeli firms as anti-Zionists take hold in Mamdani's New York City. The influential New York State Chamber of Commerce and the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce have united to create the New York Israeli Chamber of Commerce Coalition, with more business groups expected to join the effort. The free enterprise system that made New York City strong and encouraged many Israeli founders to select New York City for U.S. operations is at risk. All right. Oh, Lee Zeldin, former gubernatorial candidate in New York and now the head of the EPA. He's turning up the heat on the fire rebuild debacle on the West Coast. Federal boots are hitting the ground this week to speed up the rebuilding process for thousands of Los Angeles families displaced by last year's devastating wildfires. You can point to people like Mayor Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, for their lack of attention to this matter. And guess who's playing right along with it? The mainstream media, of course, not reporting on the disastrous rebuild schedule there. So it's good to see someone who knows how to get the job done. Lee Zeldin is going to take over those efforts. Zeldin saying it's essential that we hear directly from them and the public about what they believe is working and what isn't, and how we can accelerate the rebuilding process. Zeldin will be joined on the trip by Kelly Loeffler, the administration of the U.S. Small Business Administration. The two will host a roundtable with homeowners and small business owners impacted by the fire. Well, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you for all the comments, all of the discussion. I really do appreciate it. It was a busy morning. We sure covered a lot. Make sure you join us tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. and every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Kyle just made a decision that would change his whole world.
Hey, you're sober? You drive.
Kyle just made a decision that would change his whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over.